Bases dropped in the normal time slot for soccer's morning show. It's SDHAM. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Let me fix my hair really quickly for those who actually are partaking on the video side of things. John, hear you there. Back to the normal time slot after yesterday. Thanks to our buddy Kaylor Hodges for dropping by and going through everything. And there's a lot going on off season in USL Championship, in League One, and in the USL Super League. So we got through that yesterday afternoon. It might help if I actually posted the show if you want to go back and listen in the segment. I'll do that later today. All right, so packed show this morning, and it goes in a bunch of different directions, but that's what Wall Pass Wednesdays are for. Tyler's going to join us in just a little bit. We're going to go through anything and everything going on with Major League Soccer. We have stadia that have new names. We've got an expansion draft tonight at 10:30. We'll go through what he thinks about the expansion draft in general. The Atlanta names that were mentioned that are on the list to be allegedly picked from, possibly, perhaps, maybe not, by Tyler Heaps and San Diego FC. 10:30 tonight, once again, they get to pick up to 5, and we'll see if they pick up to 5 or if you end up getting another trade like they did with Columbus, where it was a 50% off sale involving allocation money. So, hey, you know what? You do this, you leave us alone. Don't anticipate Columbus getting a player picked. So we got that with Tyler this morning. If the busiest man in the Northeast, if he can catch his breath, we'll see if we can catch up with Dylan Butler, 10 o'clock. 10:30, very cool. We're catching up with our friends from the Savannah College of Art and Design, otherwise known as SCAD. The Bees got a national title. On the women's side, we're going to catch up with some of the coaches starting at 10:30, just kind of give a bit of an introduction on the season and what it was like to bring a title back, bring the red banner back to Savannah and to SCAD. So we'll get into that at 10:30. Catching up with our friends from Dalton State off the air this afternoon, and we'll find out what it's like for them to win a title. So men's, women's, titles, soccer, all over the place. So that's what's going on this morning involving everything here at SDH. Remember, tomorrow is the normal kickoff. Then the hour number 2 is your power hour with Nino and Nico. We go fully loaded with Nino Torres, and we'll talk probably sporting and their continued downfall in Portugal and whatever's on Nico's mind, because Craig Weibel had his press conference yesterday along with Brian Schmetzer. They had their postseason debrief, and so we'll find out what happened out there out west, what Nico's thoughts are about what happened with the last match of the year in MLS, what he thinks about what San Diego did yesterday. It will have been yesterday when we talked to him, but tomorrow when we talk to him about yesterday, which is today, we'll get Nino and Nico in hour number 2, and then Friday's the free-for-all where we get you ready for the weekend and anything else that's on our minds. All right, so no dilly, no dally zone. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you hanging out and watching us, however you are doing so, large device or small. You hit that QR code, you go into Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then when you're in, you buy out the store. On your way out the door, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. So when you buy out the store, it's at a 15% off rate. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Yesterday, don't know if you knew it, but we're going to be promoting the ish out of this until the foreseeable future. So, don't know if you know this, but SDH is up for yet another award. And we go here. The Sport Podcast Awards for 2025. And yesterday it was announced that we are one of the 12 finalists in the Best Sports Talk category. And I don't know if you've heard about some of the competition, Morning Will, that is in this category that we are going to be competing in against. And I think that this is truly, you have the judges that got it to the dirty dozen. And then I think it's up to said fans to sit there and vote. I mean, like literally turn it into Cook County politics in Chicago, the 1970s and maybe the 80s. Maybe we need to find a friend of ours who can maybe install a bot or something. Not that we would ever encourage or endorse that kind of behavior, but just saying. Best Sports Talk Podcast, SDH is one of the final 12. So here's the individuals that are also in said category with us. Bill Roden and Jamal Murphy on the Bros Pod, Bill Roden on Sports. This Day in Sports History, Historically Speaking Sports. On Tour with Sport 24. Talking Sports Books, Colin Murray's 52. Women's Sports and the NZ, Women's Sports, presents Alice's Soapbox. So it is a New Zealand-based show. Church Pew Sports Podcast, You're Wrong and Here's Why. And then two other dudes. I don't know if you've heard of these folks. There's an anchor for a national four-letter network. He's all over the place. But he got his show to be changed from Bristol, Connecticut to Washington, D.C., so he could be like at home. And so he went home, and he's hosting the show from the D.C. studios for the four-letter. But he also does podcasting with a friend of his that is now attached to an ACC institution and no longer a Pac-10 institution. It's the SV Pod with Stanford Steve and Scott Van Pelt. And then also there's another family. I don't know if you've heard of them. They both either play or played professional football at one point. One recently retired, and he's working with Scott Van Pelt in that network. And the other one is still playing, and he has a significant other who is pretty decent in her line of work. So, yes, we are up against New Heights and the SV Pod and Bill Roden in the Best Sports Talk Podcast category for 2025. So, Dirty Dozen has been set. We're up against Bill Roden, the SV Pod, New Heights, and 8 others. So, vote until January 13th. Vote until January 13th right there. You go to Sport Podcast Group, sports category, Best Sports Talk Podcast, SDH. As a network, we are in, but I think that we kind of listed it as, Soccer Down Here as a talk entity, but it is the SDH network, at least from our perspective anyway. So Best Sports Talk Podcast, the SDH network, and we cannot thank you enough for being a part of the whole process. But go here, and we're going to hit this hard over the next month. Vote. Sports Podcast Group, vote in the 25 election until January 13th. Go into the Best Sports Talk Podcast category. We're there. And we can't thank you guys enough. So, yes, Abby, I will put it in the chat so we all can discuss. So, let me see if I can get my magic done here. So, there. I think I have successfully done it. So there, Sports Podcast Group, sports categories, the 25 elections, Best Sports Talk Podcast, SDH is in there, up against New Heights, the SV Pod, and Bill Roden on Sports, the Bros Pod. So can't thank our friends enough at the Sports Podcast Group for including us in the Football Content Awards, where we were a finalist for Broadcast Rights Holder Network and lost out to BBC, Sky, and Golasso Network. So we had that competition with the FCA, and now we're in Sports Podcast Group's competition for 2025, going up against New Heights and the SV Pod and the Bros Pod with Bill Roden on Sports. So this is, once again, stuff in the ballot box in a true fashion of Davids and Goliaths, or SDHs and Kelseys, or SDHs and the four-letter network, however you want to phrase it. So that is right there. That's your opening kickoff. Vote, comma, darn it. Right there. You have until January 13th, I think. That's the deadline to vote. So, yeah, we're in the category there. And so, yeah, that's opening kickoff, at least in part and parcel. So, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Maybe if I pulled the banner out, then you could actually get the full QR code, because I think QR codes get a little squawky if you don't have the whole thing up. That's your QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Buy the store out. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you check out. You get 15% off of buying the store out. They, in turn, take 10% reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So that is the early rundown. And since it's 9:16 and I'm running a minute late, it's time to bring Tyler in. So, morning, sir. Yeah, so we're in yet another competition for best sports talk podcast, and we're going up against something called New Heights and something called the SV Pod.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them.
There's only one big timer here.
Yeah, it's you right the seat. I gotta aim it this way.
Not me.
So with that came out yesterday. Obviously, we're very blessed to have been nominated in this category. It is mind bending at times to sit there and say, yeah, you're nominated for an award. And by the way, the Kelseys are in it with New Heights. The SV Pod is in it from the 4-letter, and Bill Roden Sports is in it on the Bros Pod. And yeah, you're a part of this for best sports talk. So, it's kind of mind blowing, my friend.
That's awesome. That is really awesome, though.
Oh man,
yeah.
yes.
Sometimes nominations are just as cool as winning anything, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Says someone who coughed into a microphone who is the equivalent of the Susan Lucci of the Southeast Emmy Awards. Right here, I am the Susan Lucci of the Southeast Emmys. 30 years in a building, multiple nominations, and how many Emmy Awards? Zero Emmys.
But when you win it, it's going to be that moment, though.
Oh, I'm going to look. It is.
And I hope your thank you speech is epic.
Yeah, it's going to be something along the lines of D-Generation X walking out into the ring with the green fireworks and all of this. Exactly, that's what it's going to be. It's like, if you don't like that I've won this award, I got 2 words for you. You know, and then the fireworks go off the whole time. Yeah, so I will bring fireworks to, I think they're going to announce it virtually. Their big thing in London at Spurs Stadium was the Football Content Awards a couple weeks ago. The week before Thanksgiving in America, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the timing is a little off, but yeah, this one they're going to announce this one virtually, kind of like FIFA and the 2034 World Cup, which is supposed to happen at some point today. Yeah, we're going to do it virtually, and everybody just applauds into the camera. Hey, Saudi Arabia 2034. Vote. What do you say, FIFA representatives? By applause, and everybody applauds. What happens? You know, you imagine Gianni Infantino. He's probably looking at this bank of monitor with all of the FIFA reps, and he's looking at who's applauding. When he finds one who isn't, what does he do? I don't see you applauding. Insert country here. You know,
all of a sudden they drop off, and the screen comes back a minute later, and the person's not there anymore.
And someone else is there, and they're applauding, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second. You're not the original representative. Oh, he was replaced.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's set for today. But yeah, so vote until January 13th, and we're going to be pimping the you-know-what out of it from now on. We have, let's see, so would you like to work backward, or would you like to work forward? Because we have a lot of things to discuss since you were here last. We have expansion draft tonight at 10:30. We have the names that were placed on said list. We have the idea of if Tyler was Tyler Heaps, how would he go through San Diego FC, and how would he stack? Would you go 5? Would you go the Clint Irwin route and come up with San Diego FC legend Clint Irwin and flip him? You know, is it one of those situations? So we've got San Diego FC and the expansion and the Atlanta names to discuss about what's going on there. We've got MLS Cup. We've got an arena that's got a new sponsor name.
Saw that.
So, all right. So since you're laughing about that, sure. What the hell? Yeah, since it is the midweek, and since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, we'll go ahead and hit it. So, Red Bull Arena ain't Red Bull Arena no more.
Nope.
Sports Illustrated is the new main sponsor in Harrison, New Jersey. What the hell?
How long ago was it that they just fired
this is what I'm saying.
Everybody.
We say we're saving money. We're firing folks so we can sponsor an arena. I mean,
it blows my mind.
It was, I mean, it was a couple months ago, but yeah, I mean, literally, you know what we're going to do? as a part of our marketing, what we're going to end up doing, we're going to sponsor an arena. And it's a 13-year Sports Illustrated Stadium and SI Tickets. And I think that that's probably the bigger story in this, is that SI Tickets is going to be the official ticket head end. It's not going to be Ticketmaster or Vivid or whomever. Everything's going to be going through SI Tickets. And I think that might be the larger news peg here, other than all the stuff that we're going to make fun of them about over the next little bit. But SI Tickets, I think that's the thing here, where they're trying to boost the SI Ticket moniker and the traffic in that direction. So all the tickets now go through SI Tickets, as opposed to any of the other places where we go and try to find discounted second tier, second market, slightly used tickets for first time events.
Yeah, it just seems like one. It seems kind of tone deaf.
Oh, no question.
Like, considering all that you just did, you got rid of all these, writers, and apparently the AI program Chat GPT that was writing your articles for you too, whatever.
Oh boy.
But then you do this, you spend all this money. It's not like it's a 1-year deal, right? Like,
it's like 12 or 13 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, all right, well, all that money, screw bringing in talent and revitalizing our magazine and making it a reputable publication again. We're just going to punt and say, let's go buy a stadium.
Yeah.
Sounds like the right plan.
Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and buy. We're gonna go ahead and buy the lead. We're gonna have the wrapping and the bunting and everything, and we'll be 3 days late on delivering your product.
Yes.
There are so many punchlines here.
Yes.
It's like, oh, so let me guess, my ticket. You're probably all right. Let's see how many punchlines we can come up with here in a short amount of time for SI Stadium, which is now SI Stadium and no longer Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. All right, so your tickets will be delivered 3 days late. Your information on the tickets will be out of date, so you're probably going to be getting a ticket to a match that happened 2 or 3 matches ago. The wording on the ticket will be incredibly official and not really have anything to do with the match in and of itself. The wording having to do with the ticket and the venue and the event will be off. It'll be the most antiseptic things that you've ever read. What am I missing here? Oh, you're gonna fire your ticket agents.
Yep.
All right. So what else?
The whole name sounds to me SI Stadium. That sounds like an STD. I just think it's like, you can shorten names and you can give stadiums nicknames, like you have the Benz, right? Or you have the Dig out in LA.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ones. What do you call, like, SI Stadium? Like, there's nothing here. Illustrated Stadium, that just sounds like you made it up.
It's a drawing class, and it's architecture at NJIT. So we're gonna Ruggers and NJIT are having so where is it? Yeah, we're illustrating. That's the present tense of doing an event at the stadium. Yeah, we're illustrating.
Let me go to the illustrate. Like, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Like, look, I'll always top back to Atlanta. We have the Benz. I don't have to say Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but next year, like, and then Orlando got Enter and Co Stadium. That's stupid. Like, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Then, I mean, Miami switched theirs to Chase Stadium, which is better than Drive Pink Stadium. I get it has to do with the sponsors, but, like, I don't know. Put in your name, your company name, but give it something interesting. Give it something fun. Like, I don't know, Chat GPT Stadium, AI Stadium.
Yeah. Let's see. I was trying to think of there. Let's see. So if it's SI Stadium, well, I mean, there's a joke in there about meeting a deadline.
Oh, 100%.
Let's see. So it features whatever. But no, I think the main things here are definitely your tickets are going to get delivered late. Your information on the ticket's going to be either outdated or wrong, and it's going to be phrased in a way that you will sit there and realize, yeah, this was not put together by an actual person. That your ticket was constructed through Chat GPT.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Sports Illustrated is so backwards.
How backwards are they?
Super backwards that they probably think they have bought the rights to a stadium in New York.
Mm-hmm.
But
see, there you go.
Surprise.
They're like, okay, wait a second. Dylan Butler Estates. All right, so the Etihad Airways has got that one. So we've got to do something in the New York market. So we'll do the New York Red Bull Stadium. Sir, it's in New Jersey. You see that meeting behind glass, the long glass table in the long glass meeting room. We got to do something in New Jersey or New York, in the New York market. Red Bulls, they're the other team, right? No. Yeah, so we got that sitting. And then after the deal was processed and everything, folks in the office are like, sir, you realize that stadium's in New Jersey.
And then that guy gets thrown out the window.
Yes. Yeah, so you see the guy and then the chair and then the computer and everything that goes out. And that person, when they realize it's in New Jersey, that person gets fired. Oh, well, we can't replace that position.
Or plot twist, the person that was actually like in charge of making these decisions was actually AI. Since they rely on AI for everything anyway.
Yes.
I'm not trying to like take a dump on Sports Illustrated this way. It's low hanging fruit the whole way around. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you are taking a dump on Sports Illustrated. Well,
sorry,
but
SI.
Hey, look, full disclosure, when they went to monthly as a publication, because there was nothing better than getting the weekly SI, reading the long form features from folks like William Knack and Austin Murphy and and then and all the other college football folks and all of the ones that were really good at writing the long form features. When they went to monthly, I think we're just playing out the string with our subscription. And no matter how much time we have left on it, because it's like, oh, your NBA preview 3 weeks into the NBA season.
Right.
And so you're just, But anyway, new stadium in Harrison, New Jersey that they probably think is in the New York marketplace. So good on you, Sports Illustrated, for SI Stadium. So that was something that came across early this morning. We had to have a laugh, and we had to actually talk about it. Tonight at 10:30, the expansion draft, San Diego FC is on the clock. They can choose up to 5 players. But as we've already mentioned on the show this morning, they did a wink, wink, nudge, nudge deal involving AM and Columbus. So I'm guessing that because they got the AM at a 50% off rate, that Columbus ain't getting picked.
It'd be funny if they did, though.
Oh. It's like, oh, sorry. Tyler Heaps is like, oh, sorry, I forgot.
Dang it. Oops.
And you flip him really quickly to another club to get more AM, or you get another player that you really want. You see Jimmy Haslam sitting there and going, concert of resin, one of those. I need a quarterback in Cleveland, one of those kinds of things for the Browns. And Jimmy Haslam just starts stomping a mud hole in somebody. So the list came out, the unprotected list came out for Atlanta United. When you saw the list, did anything surprise you, or did that pretty much sit there and go true to form? It's like, yeah, I kind of figured it might be those folks.
For Atlanta, I think it was mostly kind of more or less what I expected. I mean, there were a few toss-ups.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the one big one there would be Ronald Hernandez.
Yeah.
I think that's a steal, but also considering the rest of the league and some of the talent they put out, it's not a knock against Ronald Hernandez at all, but I think he's safe.
Yeah.
I just think San Diego, I put it on Twitter yesterday, but I was like, considering some of the talent that's out there, like San Diego should be licking their chops right now.
Oh, absolutely.
There's opportunities abound for San Diego.
No doubt. We'll go through that list in a sec. But the 7 that were listed by Atlanta United, Luis Abram, and you look at the salary figure, and you see a lot of teams doing this, like Toronto did with Insigne, that there are players with high salary numbers that are out there, and it's up to the club, meaning San Diego FC, to sit there and say, yeah, I want to take that salary hit as a part of my cap by investing in someone that's got a high 6 or a 7-figure salary. Eric Centeno, end of his deal. Nicholas Firmino, end of his deal. Ronald Hernandez, that one to me is the one that you sit there and you're just like, okay, Ronald's making 400, but once again, do you make that dive and chase after Ronald? Franco Ibarra, once again, out of deal. Daniel Rios, he overperformed his contract. I think that as a secondary striker, making, I want to say 125-ish.
Yeah.
Solid number there to pick up Daniel Rios. And Shande Silva, obviously, with Shande's number. I think Shande was at like 600,000. So only 7 players that were out there for Atlanta United. But to your point, and we went through this list yesterday afternoon, there are a lot of folks out there that, depending on the direction you want to go, if you want to go experience, you can pick up some names. Or if you want to go young, and one of the names that stood out to me up in Charlotte was Yuri Tavares. And instantly, as this list came out, and then you end up with the composite, I'm looking and I see Charlotte and I see Yuri Tavares, and I'm going, okay, that's an interesting choice. You know, Zoran Cornetta sit there and he throws like 38 names onto the list. And it's Ben Bender, Hamidi Diop from Crown Legacy, Jelani Forbes, George Marks, a backup keeper, Pep Biel, who's obviously in a renegotiation from a loan deal. You got Tiger Smalls, Shvidersky, if you want to go that direction, Yuri Tavares, Bill Tuiloma for experience, Yuri Uronen and Junior Urso. And that, I mean, that's just one example of a team that threw a lot of names out there. But for Yuri Tavares, who makes under $100,000, that's the kind of deal I think that you're looking for. I'm interested to see philosophically where San Diego goes. Do they go all 5? Do they do the draft and flip for more AM? I'm interested to see if they take the full 5 and what direction they do go.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on like how much money they're willing to spend, because if money isn't an object, for lack of a better phrase, yeah, and like then I think there is so much out there that you could build a really good foundation. But I think there's something to be said too. Like if you look back in the history of the expansion draft, the short history, there have been a couple times where teams, you know, they do the whole, you know, I'm going to get that guy, but then I already got a deal in place to swap him out for somebody else or for, you know, allocation money or whatever. Like there's so much behind the scenes stuff that it kind of sucks that you don't get to see. Because I think it would just be very fascinating to kind of see like how the teams do their I don't want to say backdoor deals. It kind of is, but like, I think like it's all valid stuff because MLS's, you know, roster mechanisms and stuff are so weird. Like you would never be able to make it through it without just having conversations with other clubs talking about Columbus. But I think I don't know. There's just so many opportunities. I would love to see kind of like what San Diego has kind of, or what kind of chats they've had with other clubs besides Columbus. I think as far as talent, like we were looking at it. If money wasn't an option, I mean, you know, I think everybody's favorite guy that bounces around, Julian Gressel, is there. But you know,
do you want to pay what you know that Julian's going to want?
Yeah,
or someone
he doesn't want to be on the West.
Yeah, and it's going to be, and it's a one-dimensional individual. I mean, it's you're out there, and Julian is part of the Sharper Image catalog for me. You know, if you want the vibrating chair, if you want the radio activated helicopter, you know, if you want the lava lamp, that's you know, you want those things to be a part of your den or your garage, that's where you go.
Yeah.
But you got to build the house. You got to have furniture. You got to have a nice pit group. You've got to have the good Lazy Susan and the stocked fridge.
Yep.
I think first, before you try to go to the Sharper Image catalog and try and get somebody who's going to want to be paid more than $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And still, I think from what we've seen in published reports, he still meaning Julian. Meaning Julian. If I could get my upper plate to work this morning. Thinks of himself as a starter in this league.
Yeah.
But I think in his last couple of gigs, he has been, once again, I think he's been exposed to, okay, I like his offense. I like what he can do for me offensively in the wing, but defensively, he has become more and more exposed over time, and there was probably a reason that he was not included in a lot of the reindeer games that Messi and friends had in the postseason in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Atlanta had the very, very great benefit of being able to afford to put him in a place where he excelled, because any of his weaknesses were handled by guys that really, really could handle it. And I mean, he's had success in a lot of ways. I mean, he's also, like you said, he's kind of worked himself in and out of starting lineups at the places he's been since then. I mean, I remember being at MLS Cup last year and watching him step onto the pitch. And I mean, I love Julian Gressel, but he had a tough performance in the few minutes that he was on. And so, you know, I think it all depends on how they want to build the roster. And that's the fascinating part about the expansion draft, is you kind of see like the strategy that a front office has from the ground up. Like the only guy, well, not the only, but you know, their first signing was Chucky. And which kind of tells you, I think they're looking to play a very forward version of soccer. I imagine. I don't know why you would go make that kind of signing and that wasn't your plan, but
yeah, you want to win. You want to win the presser. You want to win the studio audience out of the
yeah, exactly. And so no, I mean, you know, I think he's one that popped up. Of course, you know, you see guys like Insigne. I mean, look, again, money, cool, like go get him, but I don't see that necessarily happening. Jose Kajima was one that popped up. I think the price on that one would work, as you know, you got a I don't want to say just a really, really good midfielder, but you've got a solid guy that can do the job. McMath was another one.
Yeah, if you're looking for keepers are out there.
Yep, including MLS MVP. So, you know, I don't have like a set 5 that I'm like, oh, this is who they should do, because like you could have your this is what I want 5, or you can have this is what I can afford 5, and I don't know what they can afford.
Right.
I'm assuming they can afford whatever because of their ownership group, but I don't know what their strategy is. So I think regardless, though, they have all the names, whether you put the expensive ones out there or not, they have enough names out there right now for them to build a really good foundation.
And to your point, Kojima, for all caps, was making rookie min at 71.4 last year. So you sit there and it's like, I like that budget point.
Yeah.
In this initially at 71.4, and you mentioned McMath, and you know, do you build it down the middle? And Zach McMath for keeper at 350. So do you go down the spine? Do you build it that way? Do you make sure that you've got a solid keeper? Do you think that because of the keepers that are out there, maybe do you go fishing and try and find one? That this is the Palace intrigue for me, is like, okay, how does Tyler Heaps want to build? Is he building it down a spine with defense? Is he building to add to the offense with, you know, Chucky Lozano? That for me is the part that intrigues me the most about all of this. And what's your price points? Are you going to chase after the Tavareses and the Jose Kojimas, or are you going to sit there? Are you going to step out of line and see what you can grab by dropping a little coin? All caps in their expansion draft, just to refresh everybody's memory. Nico Gioacchini, who is on the list, by the way, of accessible players. Indiana Vassilev, pride of East Georgia. And Indiana Vassilev has evolved into a very good player for all caps. Jonathan Bell from the Revs. John Nelson, no relation, from FC Cincinnati. And it is weird, though, when he is mentioned in any play-by-play, and I'm sitting there, and it's like I'm trying to do my work. Yeah, John Nelson in possession up the right-hand side. I'm like, whoa, what?
What?
And then Jake LaCava was the 5th pick, but Jake was a pick and flip. He was traded to Messi and friends for $150,000 in GAM, and so that was pick number 5. For Charlotte, Mackenzie Gaines from Austin was their first pick, and then it was Anton Walks. Then it was Joseph Moore from DC United. Tristan Blackman was picked from LAFC. flipped to Vancouver for $475,000 in GAM. And then Ismail Tajuri Shradi was picked from NYCFC and traded to LA for $400,000 in general allocation money. So they held on to 3, Charlotte did, then picked 2 more, flipped those 2, and got $875,000 in AM coming back the other way. So in the last draft we had 1 flip. The one before that was Charlotte. We had 2 flips. So we'll see where it goes. But I wanted to pick your brain about what your tack might be and what your intel might be telling you about what's going to be happening tonight at 10:30 Eastern time with the new folks, San Diego FC.
I think if it were me,
yeah,
like ultimately,
if it was you, who?
If it was me, I am a firm believer, especially in this league, that you have to get the spine of your team, your midfield straightened out. Like, to me, I look at, the wings. Mm-hmm. The wings are a great way to progress the ball into the final third. The wings aren't always the best way to equate that to goals necessarily. They should be the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. And there's a big gap between a really, really good winger and a good winger. Like, that gap is much bigger than
a good winger and a good winger.
A really good striker and a good striker. There's so much more there, because inherently where wingers are at on the pitch, they have more work to do to both provide assists and or score goals. And I think that's why you see, like, in any of the leagues, the amount of money that is dropped on wingers is because they are consistently able to put the ball on a dime into the box for those strikers or for whoever. They're consistently able to, take on guys 1v1 and get around guys and then end up close to the box or in the box to make the assists that much more possible or score goals. I think from a San Diego perspective, and not I wasn't trying to get off philosophical about soccer, but I think you take care of your spine first, especially in this league, because if you have that dominant midfield, you're going to dominate the game in the way that you want to. How they want to play, don't know. But I think, like I said a minute ago, having Chucky there, that kind of tells you at least a little bit about what they're trying to do. You're going to want to get him the ball. Chucky is not necessarily that guy that's going to go up super high to win, headers from guys on the wings. I mean, he can, but I don't know. That's just not his game. And so I would imagine they're going to focus on the guys directly behind him, number 10 or whatever you want to call it, an attack-minded number 8 and a goalkeeper. Those would be the 3 that I would almost guarantee. The other 2, I think, could be whoever they can get that they can go and then make a little bit of game for.
Okay. Also remember that earlier this week, they also picked up Tomas Angel as a part of the transactions and the extra Garber bucks that you get walking into a situation like this. LAFC got $200,000 in GAM from San Diego FC in exchange for Tomas Angel, who you suppose will be helping you out up top, and LAFC's number 2 pick in the 2025 MLS Super Draft. So you have that as a part of the future for San Diego FC. Speaking of drafts, and then this was something that I talked about yesterday afternoon that just absolutely struck me. And it was almost like an oncoming car going through an intersection. So we mentioned draft picks, and Colorado has been very, very busy in the last week. And you know where I'm going with
I know exactly where you go with this.
Because I'm building here and I'm constructing and I'm building. So we find out that Philadelphia and Ernst Tanner, they're cool just kind of sitting at a table and they don't need the telephone for the MLS. Well, they might, it's like DoorDash. Yeah, we're sitting here.
Pizza party.
It's so for those that might not, remember or might have blocked this out of their brains. Philadelphia has basically told the MLS Super Draft, "Nah, we're good." for the next 3 years. I feel like Jeremy Piven and Grosse Point Blank. 3 years, man. 3 years. 8 picks in 3 years. Philadelphia and Ernst Tanner basically said, nah, we're good. We'll come and sit. We'll order takeout. We'll have it delivered to the table. I'm wondering, though, do you even, if you don't have any picks, do you still get a table? Do you still have to just sit there and show up and sit there and, for the cutaways on the cameras? And Philadelphia's here, but they're not on the clock. They're just here. What are they doing? Oh, they're having pizza. They're having a mixer.
They're going to be sitting in a bar somewhere live streaming Andrew Wiebe doing the super draft while they're all like having drinks and chilling and laughing as all the chaos goes down.
Look at that pick. And the reason they're doing that is because they've traded their 8 super draft selections over the next 3 years away. Not to different clubs, mind you. Not to different clubs. They traded all 8 picks to Colorado for $350,000 base and a max of $600,000 if performance incentives are met by these 8 draft picks. So Ernst Tanner trades all 8 of his draft picks in the next 3 years to one team and is basically like, nah, fam, I'm good. We'll sit here and we'll order DoorDash and have Chinese and watch the rest of you kind of sit there and figure out what you want to do. I mean, it was without a doubt one of those things that you sit there and you go, dude, really? You're doing that. And apparently Ernst Tanner, he's kicking back and he's cool with the whole thing. And it's like, really. I mean, that's where we are. You're just like, nah, good. I'm good. I'm good without having draft picks. You have taken, like I mentioned it yesterday. It's like Casino Royale, where it's Mads Mikkelsen and Daniel Craig. Literally, they're at the table playing poker or whatever the hell it is. And Mads Mikkelsen pushed all of his chips, 20 million, pushes it to the table, thinking that he's got it. And then Daniel Craig sits there and says, okay. And then Daniel Craig ends up getting the straight flush. And Mads Mikkelsen takes the shooter from his Primatine Mist and figures out how he's going to kill James Bond. But Ernst Tanner, he's like, nah, I'm good. You are putting so much. I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know if it's hubris. I don't know if it's both. But you've pushed everything to the middle of the table for the next 3 years, hoping that your academy is going to be the ish in Major League Soccer. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think when we talked about it on our show on Monday, that was essentially what I said, was like, this is a massive gamble, because it is. Like, I mean, you can try to trade back for some other ones, like from other teams or whatever, in between now and then. But like,
you're bored with your Chinese food, and you're like, oh, wait a second, no, hey, let's not dial DoorDash. Let's call Vancouver and see.
Yeah, San Jose.
Let's call Bruce Arena and see if he picks up the phone.
Yeah, I mean, you're putting all your money at this point. Hang on, Philly. I'll get to Philly. I just have questions about Colorado. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is your plan with all of this? Because, I mean, there is talent and value to the super draft, but you got to hit like accurately. Are we just throwing all the darts at one time and hoping that like one or two of them hit the dartboard, and hope out of the ones that hit the dartboard, you're hitting close to the target in the middle? Like, that's kind of what it feels like, because, you can go through and I feel like Atlanta, out of all the teams, like Atlanta's done fairly okay in the super draft, but it's not a roster mechanism where you're going to hit every single time or even most of the time. Now, it's very low risk, right? But there's only so much talent you're going to get out of the super draft. Like, there's only so much talent that exists in the super draft. So, like, what is your overall strategy with 8 picks over the next 3 years, plus like whatever you're already getting?
Are you hoarding at the table and sitting there and possibly trading assets? Because that's, once again, at the end of the day, it's an asset. If you package a couple of these assets, do you sit there and you flip them to teams who really want these players? And okay, so what's in it for you? You're hoarding assets to get more AM. You're hoarding assets to get AM and maybe a player. So it's like bulk dealing at the car dealership. It's like, okay, we've got all the Chevelles. All right, so who wants a Chevelle? Who wants a Honda Accord? We're ready for them when they hit the lot and they want to buy a car.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, like if you're looking to then go and try to negotiate something with another team for one of their players or whatever, and you can say, well, hey, let me spice it up a little bit. I'll throw in a couple of draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's cool, but like that means you're still looking inside the league, which is not a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, I think it does kind of, you don't want that to be your focus, like either. You want to be able to go outside and those super draft picks have no bearing on what you might get from South America or.
But you're also assuming Stan Kroenke's going to want to spend money, even though he finally did when he brought
that is true.
Mihailovic. So
that is true. That is true. There's definitely something to be said, and maybe he's like he likes shopping at the dollar store. I don't know, but it's just odd. But then on Philly, I think it's just funny because like they're literally the other end of the spectrum, and they're saying, our academy, which has consistently put out the most talent out of all the academies. I mean, you can throw Dallas in there, you can throw a couple of other teams in there, but Philly has consistently done it. And if they think that they have that much really, really good talent coming through, by all means, like then it makes sense. But you better hope they pan out, because if not, then you've lost one of those other mechanisms. Whether you consider it super valuable or not, it's one that you could use, and now you can't unless you go and you make a trade for one. It's such a MLS thing. It's just funny to watch from afar.
Well, I could see Ernst Tanner. Let's see. So all right, so we need a draft pick. Who do we call? Oh, let's call Colorado. Waiting for
get one back.
Waiting for that to happen. And Tom Russo reminded me, we did talk about it yesterday, but like I said, it was more of an afternoon thing. We talked about, speaking of mechanisms inside the league, Tommy Scoops came out with the article about adding a cash-based internal trade market that could be voted on this week with Major League Soccer. So it would allow MLS clubs to make trade offers with real cash rather than allocation money. It wouldn't replace allocation money, but it would be another avenue. So teams could still do AM trades if they wanted, but if they really wanted somebody, they could sit there and go, well, I'm thinking if we wanted to get Georgi Mihailovic, just whomever, Team X calls up Colorado. No, we don't want any of your draft picks from the Super Draft, but we really would like Georgi Mihailovic. What's he worth to you? $4.5 million. Okay, so if we paid you $4.5 million right up, then we get Georgi Mihailovic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Done. So you'd have that as another mechanism outside of doing straight up AM deals like we've seen for 29 years or however many years they've had the mechanism. But so it would be, in addition to having AM trades, basically if there's someone of super value that you really dig, you could sit there and drop that coin instead of trying to make it an AM deal that wouldn't be within the realm of the money that you have in Garber bucks. So,
yeah, I mean, I think
adding mechanisms, as you say.
When you look at Tom's tweets, the thing that stood out to me a lot was this idea has been long discussed, but hasn't yet come to fruition, though it's come close in years past.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me that your Colorados and San Jose's of the world have decided they don't like it because they're not going to want to go spend that money. Right. But your Arthur Blanks, and guys like that, you're all of Miami is like the ones that are going to go want to spend money. This benefits them, and it should be implemented because it's another step in the right direction. And a team that wants to spend money in the league, like you already make it hard enough to get people from out of the league to make it make sense to come here. You should be able to go to a team with that player that you really like and say, hey, I want to pay you the money. I'm going to pay you what he's worth, whatever. We can negotiate a little bit, but I'm going to give you real money, not monopoly money. And, but that part of the tweet just tells me that it's been voted against by the ones that don't want to spend money, which is so frustrating. And that just holds the league back. That irritates me, but I get it. People value their money in different ways. It is what it is.
Well, and the sporting and competition committee members include folks like Clark Hunt, Eric Paulson, Greg Kerfoot in Vancouver, Adrian Hanauer in Seattle, Larry Berg, et cetera, LAFC. But what this, and as you talked it through, my spidey senses went up a little bit, where you have a team that has a certain player that they know is valuable, and they want to have that transaction outside the traditional AM marketplace. Then what you have is, I shudder to say it, but something like the Pittsburgh Pirates situation, where you have an Andrew McCutchen who would be a valuable player. And if Pittsburgh sells him on, say, then what do you do with that money? Pittsburgh, as a baseball organization, they don't want to spend money. They know they're going to get relief from the league for not spending the money that they are because of where they are in the salary cap structure. I think that, and I understand where they're coming from here. You incentivize the teams that don't want to invest in the first place, take advantage of an individual that they know is valuable, but then you wonder how they're going to reinvest that money. Are they going to reinvest it in themselves? Are they going to sit on it and turn it into profit and loss? That's the element in here that I'm intrigued by, as to how the teams that aren't Atlanta, LA, LAG, NYCFC, the big spenders, how the non-big spenders react if this does in fact come on the books when they have valuable players come through their systems.
Yeah. I in a perfect world, I like to think that it would ultimately balance itself out eventually, because those teams that you expect to not spend the money, typically don't have any other way of bringing in the talent that would interest another big club. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I mean, there's definitely players out there, but I mean, I think, your Miamis, your Atlantas, your NYCFCs, your Columbuses, the ones that are okay with spending some money, both LAs, like they're going to have talent coming through that other teams would be interested in. You don't see that same pipeline with, the lower spending teams, because they don't even necessarily invest much of that into their academy either. So it's not like you often have that kind of big guy come through your academy. Now there's exceptions. My mind totally just went blank on his name, but
that happens to me a lot.
Yeah, I know, right? He's down in Mexico now. He's U.S. men's national team.
What, U.S. Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez?
No, not him. He was with, was it Salt Lake, maybe?
Cade Cowell?
Yeah, Cade Cowell.
Okay.
Now because he came through their academy, right?
San Jose, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, but like that's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you had one, right, out of many.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in the long term, you're just not having that kind of talent being pumped through as you would at a team that actually invests their money into themselves, in a way that's going to produce talent. So I don't know. I just think ultimately it'll balance itself out. Otherwise, knowing the way MLS is, we'll have another roster rule in a couple of years that would alter it in some way, shape, or form. But it's definitely a valid point. I think what you don't want to see is exactly what you said. Like these teams that do end up with that little bit of money, just not doing anything with it to help either themselves and or the league out.
Yeah, and so I've always been wary of the idea perhaps that Major League Soccer needs to have a salary floor when it comes to a cap, and as much as they have a ceiling, so you don't have what we saw in the National Hockey League with the Arizona Coyotes, where they're getting a bunch of dead contracts and they're just trying to get to that floor. And so they pick up players who are injured or retired or dead weight and deals like that. And they don't want to invest, and they bring in a lot of young talent, and then they continue to stink. And it sets a bad wheel in motion if you want to try to do something like that. So that's the Palace intrigue with that anyway. So once again, Wall Pass Wednesday was what it always is. It's like we start down a path, we go here, we go here, we go here, and we talk about maybe two of the things that might have been on the rundown. What's going on at Scarves and Spikes?
We've got all of our articles coming out. You know, we're still doing the on the website. We've got the kind of player ratings. We've got our normal show tonight, so we'll be talking a lot of similar stuff. We'll be talking about the expansion draft as it comes up. So that's at 7. We're recording some stuff for Patreon after. But now that we've finally had a moment to breathe, all of us, right? We're just kind of, going through determining like what we want to add to the site and the show, and just kind of fine tuning things and just trying to make everything better in the best way we possibly can. So, 7:00 tonight, and we'll have articles coming out consistently. And Monday we'll be back doing MLS Monday as well. So, just staying busy, but not as busy as in the middle of the season. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, because there is no off season anymore.
Yes.
What's in the mug this morning, and what is the mug?
It's the Scarves and Spikes mug.
Okay, excellent. There you go.
And it was just a classic breakfast roast this morning. I wanted something old school, I guess.
Okay.
So we have in the house right now, I have blueberry, which is amazing.
Amazing.
The coconut mocha I mentioned last week.
Uh-huh.
And then randomly when I went in there this morning, I don't know how it was acquired because there's only one K-cup, but it was Bailey's.
Oh.
So I may have to partake in that one at some point.
Okay. Well, especially, because we are at the warmest part of the day, according to the meteorologist. So, as it gets colder throughout the day, my guess is you might have to head toward that Bailey's as we go. I will see you in 2 weeks because I have high school football championships. So when we get next week sorted out, you'll know what next week is, and it might be like the Dean Martin roasts and talk about Nelson behind his back for an entire week. So we'll see what happens. As always, my friend, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by on Wednesdays, and have a good show tonight.
Appreciate it. See you.
All right. So go buy the mug, meaning Tyler's. Go buy the SNS gear, and you can add SNS gear to your stacks. And then your SO will sit there and go, why you buy that for? It's because you're being supportive of local journalism and storytelling and the Atlanta United Information Exchange program that we have on a weekly basis involving our buddies at Scarves and Spikes. Okay, let me go through all the other things that are going on here in the universe. We mentioned, once again, Sports Podcast Awards, and you have until January 13th to vote for Best Sports Talk Show, and that's us, one of the 12. We're going up against New Heights, SV Pod, Bill Roden on Sports, and 8 others. So vote early, vote often, maybe find a bot or something. Not that we either condone or endorse that kind of behavior. So Sports Podcast Awards, and you can vote for us as we are a finalist in the Best Sports Talk category here for 2025. Okay. Also, the other things going on that you can partake in here in the universe. Our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. You can pick up the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta hat, sweatshirts, and T-shirts. You can get it either in the red or the black. Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta. Then when that gets delivered, you are helping to support middle school soccer programs tied to the Atlanta public school system. So very, very cool stuff there at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Also, our friends at Olive and York have the SDH supporters kit available, and I will post that in the Twitch pitch as we go here as well. So I actually had that as a bookmark, and so will wonders never cease? So Olive and York, our friends at Olive and York, Kaiser Permanente, Scott Flood and the Flood Project, they pieced this together, and it is going to help out programs that we have earmarked for 2025 support and beyond. So this is our first ever supporters kit. Kaiser Permanente on the front. You can personalize it on the back, and you can show your support for STH, show your support for those projects that we have earmarked as well. So you can get your supporters jersey at Olive and York for STH. You can go to soccerdownhere.net. It looks a little different. Jason has been very, very busy on making it look like real pretty and stuff. And it is looking incredibly sharp. Kind of had a soft rollout last night. You can get the gear there as well. You can get the Olive and York. You can get all the old school stuff. You can get all of our retro gear. You can go to soccerdownhere.net and get that as well. So soccerdownhere.net, Grady Baby Co. And Ropes, thank you for ordering as well. So as always, fantastic that you guys want to be a part of things as much as you do. And then once again, remember that this was the last thing that our friends in the Marshall Islands put together, their first ever jersey. They've got a new jersey out. You can still get the scarf that is a part of our support for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. You can still pick that up. You'll see Maddie Cruz modeling said scarf that she and Sophia Cupertino went out and shot at Silverbacks Park. So the marketing project that was a part of her internship, you can still get the scarves. I've still got them. If you want a Marshall Islands scarf, reach out to me, and you can get a Marshall Islands scarf to show support for the Federation. They have a new jersey out. So that was the first jersey. They now have a new jersey out. I don't know if it's available for sale yet, but they are kind of sitting there saying, hey, we've got a new jersey. So once again, you can get a new jersey from our friends at Player Layer and the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. So it is Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, Grady Baby Co., Olive and York for the new supporters jersey, kickoff coffee to start your day. And did I forget something? Vote. Sports Podcast Awards for us. And you can show your support for us as we go up against the Goliaths of the industry, Scott Van Pelt and the Kelseys in the Sports Podcast Awards in the Best Sports Talk category for 2025. It's through the 13th of January is the vote, and then they will announce the winner virtually at the end of January. So we'll find out what happens there. So that's the look. So there you go. All right. So got to say hi to everybody and get everybody in this morning. So thank you, Abel. Good morning. Morning, Alex. Morning, Will. Morning, Abby. And once again, so there's the banner for the voting on the Sports Podcast Awards. So let's see. Morning, Abby. Morning, 4Card. And Abby has voted already. Bless you. Will voted. Bless you. Morning, Emilio. Yes, Ted Baxter. Yes, exactly. That is the Ted Baxter voice. 4Card voted. Morning, Alex. Morning, Jordan. Morning, Pars. Let's see. And 4Card. I think it is the ticket crypto scam entity. I believe I think it was steering folks toward SI tickets, and it is a marketing twist to that. So we'll see what happens there. Emilio, I didn't know they had a ticket agency either. I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't know, because I'm used to dealing with others. The T word and the V word are the two that I'm used to dealing with. But I did not know that SI had a ticketing agency. Yes, Tom, sometime in February, you'll get tickets to some event that has nothing to do with sports. Some fashion contest. Enter and Co. Yeah, Enter and Co. Whew, sure thing. Morning, OG. Chase. The unprotected list. Yeah, so yeah, Chase Stadium and their protected list. I think it was listed further down. Abby says she was a little surprised Hernandez was not protected and Mosqueda was. There's interest already in Mosqueda from clubs in South America. So if you can get a loan deal or a purchase on Mosqueda's last year of his contract, you're controlling that asset because there's interest. It was the same thing, same rationale for having Santi Sosa under contract, because there were clubs that were interested in Santi Sosa as an entity. And so what happened is you don't let Santi Sosa walk away on a free. And so Racing Club decides, we're interested in picking up the option or picking up the financial obligation on Santi Sosa. If you have him under contract, you get paid and Rossing has to pay you as opposed to not paying you and going from and not getting anything out of the deal. Same with Mosqueda. If Mosqueda is available, and you have to kind of play Vulcan chess here for a second. If Mosqueda is on the list, unprotected, San Diego picks him up, then San Diego, once again, they could get the financial reward for the South American clubs that are interested in Edwin Mosqueda. So this way, Atlanta hangs on to that asset and makes sure that if someone is interested in Mosqueda, that the cash goes their way and isn't lost to San Diego. So San Diego gets a player, then they get a loan or purchase price. They would end up getting the financial reward from Mosqueda if clubs were interested and if they thought three-dimensionally and was like, oh, okay, so what we can do, we've heard folks are interested. We'll take Mosqueda and then get the financial reward for that. So that's why you're hanging on to Mosqueda. With Ronald is, and as we talked about with Tyler in hour number one, it is a crowded room this year. There's a lot of folks out there for 5 selections, depending on what direction you want to go. There's a lot of directions you can go. And so what you are looking at is, okay, what do I want to spend? And where do I want to spend it? But where Ronald is concerned, Ronald's making 400. Luis Abram is making twice that, 887, I think. But if Ronald's making 450 or 450, see, now I'm intrigued. I've got to go find it because I want to. Let's see. So, let's see. So Ronald Hernandez, 450. So Ronald's making 450. Are you? If you're San Diego, are you going to invest $450,000 on a right back when you can invest, say, 71-1 on Yuri Tavares and help yourself out up top to go with Tomas Angel and Chucky Lozano? And you can spend $350 to pick up, say, a Zach McMath in net. You've got to figure out where you want to spend your money and where you don't. And with a crowded room this year of a lot of interesting selections, I think that Ronald's probably down the pecking order, and it's a calculated risk, but I think that you can look in other places if you're San Diego and look for other folks and chase what you're looking for. But seriously, you look at Crown Legacy and Charlotte, you look at Hamidi Diop and Yuri Tavares. It's like 2 players at 71-1 that you could sit there and go, well, actually, let me double check if Diop and so Hamidi Diop, 97-216, and Yuri Tavares at 101-769. So they're both in around $100,000. But still, so if you ended up getting a left back in Hamidi Diop and a left wing in Yuri Tavares, I'm intrigued. But like I said, there's a lot of stories out there. David, can we give them GAM to take a certain guy? All right, so let's think this through for a second. Folks from SCAD joining us in about 15 minutes to discuss a championship and where the red banner is right this very second. Can we give them GAM to take a certain player? I don't know if you want to. It's like here's a player and $100,000. If they're that interested in that player, they would just take the player, and it wouldn't necessarily be there might be a wink, wink, nudge, nudge somewhere in there, but they would just take the player, David. I think if there was an interest in player X, they would just take the player. You wouldn't necessarily have to give a financial incentive to continue to add that through. Let's see. So let's see. Morning, Jordan. And Abby got the list out for Messi and friends. OG was the picture of Shonday giving the finger. Really his reaction to being on the unprotected list? I don't think so. Jordan wondering if Atlanta can get a player like Benja Kromoski. Remember, Kromoski also just signed a contract extension. So he is a young talent, and there's a lot of faith that Raul Sanlehi and that front office have, and Javier Mascherano and the Moss brothers, that they have in a player like Benja Cremaschi. Cremaschi's contract now is guaranteed through 28. And so I imagine he's going to be making a lot more. And the Diego Gomez deal, remember yesterday, Gomez now officially with Brighton. I think it's $15 million in the transfer, up to 18 with escalators if incentives are met. This would be one of those instances that we talked about where if you instituted that new rule of the straight cash homie rule instead of dealing with AM, that would help out if anybody was interested in Benja Cremaschi, but it would be a handsome price tag. You couldn't get it done under the current situation, but I think that if you wanted to get it done in the mindset of, okay, the new deal that they're thinking about where you could just do the cash deal outside of the AM structure, that's how you could get a Benja Cremaschi. But I think Messi and friends are happy with Benja Cremaschi because they need cheap talent, relatively speaking, young talent, and someone like Cremaschi who's under contract for the next 4 years. Once again, that's also controlling the asset. Controlling the asset for somebody like Benja Cremaschi so they can get a deal like they got for Diego Gomez down the line if Cremaschi continues to improve. I think that Cremaschi is going to be staying with Messi and friends for quite some time until that big payday for Messi and friends is there. Ropes, thank you for voting. That's the big question. Ropes, what kind of formation and style does Mikey Veras prefer? That's a Bart question. So Monday when Bart comes in, we'll see if we can ask about Mikey Veras and what he did at the national team level and see how that could apply stylistically to San Diego. Or is it just something where it's like, okay, I have a loose construct of an idea and I've got Chucky Lozano and Tomas Angel. Where do I go with that? It's probably Chucky Lozano up top. That's my focus. And I've got to build around that. But we'll see. And OG is wondering about leverage for folks that might be overpaid. I would think that somebody like a Luis Abram, who is paid $887, I think, might be more in that thought pattern over someone else. Ronald, by comparison, at $400,000, that's not a lot. Like I said, Luis Abram, I think, is at $887. So, but once again, when you do these kinds of things and you keep folks either protected or unprotected, you're looking at the asset. Luis Abram, 871, 888, a base of 732, 275, compared to Ronald, who's at 450. Basically, Ronald's making half of Luis Abram money. So that's what you're staring at with those two individuals anyway. Centeno was just under 100. Nick Firmino was at the 71,401, so rookie min at 71,401. Franco Ibarra, once again, it was the last year of that contract at 660. And once again, that's taking an asset and having it out in the open. And let me see, Daniel Rios, once again, I think he outperformed 126,383 for a backup striker. If you could bring in Daniel Rios and keep Daniel Rios, I mean, that 126,383, that was a bargain. That was a bargain. And Shande at 604,250. Those were the numbers for those Atlanta players. So, yeah, and I don't know how much Garber bucks they get to start, because David's asking, they get a bunch of extra Garber bucks to start. They do. So, well, but and Will's not necessarily a fan of the super draft, but it is a mechanism to bring in players. I mentioned yesterday afternoon that Yannick Bright and Leo Afonso were, I think, at 15 and 32 in the super draft, and both came out very, very well for Messi and friends last year in the super draft. That was a mechanism that they chose to bring in those players that were financially viable, and helped out when they needed minutes. And Yannick Bright got starts as he went, and I think Leo Afonso had to deal with some injuries. But Yannick Bright picked up at 15, gave quality minutes for Messi and friends, because they needed him to, and it turned out to be something that, financially, that was a success for them, having those young players hit at 15 and 32. But for my larger point in the discussion with Philadelphia basically ditching the draft was that they ditched the draft. It's like, no, we're good. You're pushing all the chips in the middle of the table. I'm confident in who we are and our academy. You've basically taken a mechanism, regardless of the level of success, you've taken a mechanism to assemble talent, and basically it's like, nah, we're good. Like I said, I don't know if that's confidence, hubris, both, what. But it's like, nah, we're good. And to trade them all to Colorado, you have traded 8 pieces of asset to one team that they can navigate with for the next 3 years. Philadelphia's just kind of like, nah, I'm good. It's crazy. I mean, it was wild. So Atlanta United in their expansion draft. So let's go back and look at the expansion draft that they had in 2017. The bid. Inaugural season, 2017 Atlanta United season. So club, where's my expansion draft list? Expansion draft, Atlanta United, disciplinary record, received in GAMs and frees, super draft picks for Atlanta United in 2017 were Miles and Julian and Andrew Wheeler-Almanu and Alex Kapp. So non-player transfers. Actually, hang on. So, see, now I'm having to type quickly here. Atlanta United expansion draft. All right. So thank you. Thank you, Will. See, Will's faster about this than I am. So, yes. Thank you, Will. Let me click it real quick. Danny Toya. Wow. Okay. So the 2016 expansion draft, Donnie Toya, who got flipped to Orlando City, Zach Lloyd, who got kept, Clint Irwin, who got flipped to Toronto. So he basically got drafted from Toronto and traded back. Mikey Ambrose and Alec Kann. So Atlanta United traded Donnie Toya to Orlando for the number 8 pick in the Super Draft. Returned Clint Irwin for Mark Bloom and allocation money. So Donnie Toya from Montreal to Orlando City for the number 8 pick in the draft. Zach Lloyd, who got kept. Clint Irwin, who got picked and traded back. Mikey Ambrose and Alec Kann. So that was your expansion draft in 2017. Yeah, Irwin got flipped for a player, and Donnie Toya got flipped for the number 8 pick in the MLS Super Draft. Thank you, Will. Your fingers are faster than mine. Fingers are absolutely faster than mine. So that was the 2017. That was the 2017 draft after the 2016 expansion draft. Well, but I mean, Emilio, we'll go through the draft real quick, and Super Draft's supposed to help the first team, hasn't helped us much. But once again, that's where it is a mechanism to help. My larger point with Philadelphia is this. You basically are abandoning a mechanism to help you. It's like, no, I'm good. I would rather have options and activities into the Super Draft than not. But Ernst Tanner, incredibly confident in his own abilities, and that in Philadelphia, in A, judging talent, and B, keeping them around and playing them. Because remember, Kevin Sullivan's heading to Manchester City when he's 18. He's not staying forever. And Kevin Sullivan being the be-all, end-all, golden boy of the Philadelphia Union Academy system, and rightfully so. He ain't staying forever. And so what Ernst Tanner's doing is just basically saying, no, I'm good. I don't need the draft. So we'll see. Morning, Harry. Harry's question, is this the start of getting away from MLS funny money? I don't think it's getting away from it, but I think it's recognizing the economy. I think what you're doing is you are recognizing, you know what? If teams want to spend and they want to go to other teams and they want to spend money and help these other teams out financially, hey, here's like $5 million as opposed to only $1 million because I only have a certain amount of AM available. If I want to pay you $5 or $7 million for a player, I want to be able to do that. I think it's just recognizing the economy in the room. I don't think it's the end of GAM and Garber Bucks as we know it. I just think that it's another mechanism to help out if a team is really interested in somebody. How interested are you? Well, we're this interested. We'll pay you 8 figures. Somebody's interested in Kromoski. You knock on David Beckham's door. Hello? Yeah, we'd like to talk to you about Kromoski. Well, what's it worth to you? $10 million. Okay, I have to think about it. This is where I need Nick. That's just another mechanism in the room. David, part of the U22 initiative to encourage identifying young talent, later flipping them Almada style. Teams can make money outside of the gate in TV if their front office does their job very well. Absolutely true. Derek is seconding the blueberry coffee. Will wondering when you announce the manager, enough of the waiting, give us structure. Yeah, I mean, that's you've got that. You've got the technical director, sporting director, director of soccer operations, whatever you want to call it. All that stuff is there. Thank you, Derek, for ordering the kit. As far as our players go, Hernandez may be Silva most likely to be picked. But once again, and David, once again, and Abraham and Hernandez, you do get national team quality players. But once again, it's, we went through the list. There is a boatload of players available out there. It's what are you willing to spend for the position? And can you take it and treat them as an asset and flip it forward? That's the other point. You flip it and you go. Do you flip it? Do you hang on to it? Do you have faith in that individual? Or do you sit there and it's like, hey, what's it worth to you? You sit there and you hold it out there and you open. I've got so-and-so. What's he worth to you? It's like the guy in the sporting, it's not a sporting goods ad, but it's the old fisherman who's got the dollar on the hook. Oh, just missed it. Oh, gotcha. That's kind of what it is. The expansion draft, if San Diego FC, it's if Tyler Heaps and Mikey Vera sit there and they grab somebody, that's the dollar bill on the hook. Oh, you just missed it. Oh, what's it worth to you? Oh. So that's what you're staring at when it comes to San Diego FC. Once again, 10:30 tonight. 10:30 tonight. David says Ernst Tanner's having his Mike Ditka moment, but for $300,000 of GAM versus Ricky Williams. That's the trade I was looking for. Geico, thank you, Tom. Yes, the Geico ad with the old fisherman and the dollar bill. So that's where we are. Okay. It is time, since it is 10:30, it's time to go to an office in Savannah and catch up with national champs, because we can say that now. National champs in Savannah, and we have coaches. We have multiple coaches. It is going to be a 2-on-1 advantage in this interview situation. We are going to find out about the national champions, and that's what the red banner should say, champions, and that's how you spell it, CHAMPEENS, champions. SCAD wins a title, and for this, we bring in coaches. Rebecca Gunn, Sinead Byrne. First off, thanks for coming on the morning show. Thanks for dropping by. Where is the red banner?
Where is the red banner?
The red banner is in my car. It needs to come in. We did bring the trophy.
There's the trophy, yes.
The trophy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the red banner's huge.
It's massive.
Yes.
We need to get that hung.
As someone who has covered events in the NAIA in the past, that red banner is basically wide enough for an entire team photo, and it blots out your entire team. and it's not a translucent banner. I mean, it's one of those thick red felt things, at least it was in the past, where, I mean, if you did 3 sets of 12, you're doing a conditioning drill. And so, I mean, it is a thick banner, and you've got to find a spot that is weather sensitive, and make sure that the supports in whatever roof stanchion or whatever you're doing it with can support that banner, because that is one heavy thing. But when you survive a championship run and you end up with a title, I think that you can kind of handle those kinds of issues, right?
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. I think it's going into our gym where all the other banners. SCAD have got quite a few championships. So
yes,
but it's our first women's soccer one. So we're excited to get that hung in the gym.
All right. So I will do it this way. We're going to play Price is Right to figure out the order for answering questions here. I have a number in my head between 1, and since we have starting 11s, we'll go starting 11s. I have a number in my head between 1 and 11, and since Rebecca is head coach, she will go first. Rebecca, give me the number.
I'll say 5.
Okay, Sinead, give me a number.
7.
Since you were closer, Sinead, you have the option. You can either answer first. The number was 11, by the way. That's my lucky number.
Nice.
So, Sinead, you have the option of either answering first or deferring and having Rebecca answer first. So, what is your option?
I'll let Rebecca go first.
Okay. So, all right. So, Rebecca, how does it feel to be a national champ?
Oh, it feels so good. Of course. Just so proud of the program. So proud of this team that we have. So proud of Sinead and all the hard work we put in it. And I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. I'm actually tired because it's been go, 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 go. And so it's, there's a lot of joy, a lot of excitement, and I'm ready to rest.
That's not allowed for national champs. You have to go back out and recruit. You've got to get ready for next season. There is no rest for national champs.
I know, you're actually right. I leave Thursday for a recruiting trip, so tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. So, Sinead, break this down for me. What was the run like, to get into the playoffs, and then have to be ready each time out subsequently to continue to win and advance? What was this run like?
Absolutely incredible. I mean, we've been so ready to get to that final site for the last couple of years. And so really just getting there was our first goal. And then once we were in, we were going to take it game by game. And so obviously that first round, you get 2 days of rest. So kind of a recovery and then straight prep. And then after that, the quarters, it's 1 day of rest. And so I think both coach and I said the team that wins this tournament is the team that recovers the best. And so we had our strength and conditioning coach with us. He's also a nutritionist. Fantastic job of prepping the girls. We had our athletic trainer who was unbelievable in getting these girls ready to go again. And so us as a team, I think we were the most recovered team. And so we were able to win it all. And that was massive for us.
What is probably, Rebecca, the biggest thing that folks may not have realized about how difficult a run like this is? Is it having to be ready on 2 days and making sure that the physio staff is like getting no sleep and making sure that everybody is being stretched out and all? What was the biggest thing that folks may not have realized was the toughest element in this to win a championship?
Yeah, no, it's the being prepared for each new set of games, because I mean, all the teams we faced were so different. And so, it's breaking down the film, and you only have so much time to be able to do that. So like Coach mentioned, we were able to have support staff there. And so they were able to make sure our girls' bodies were working while we were working to make sure we were prepared for what our players were going to see on the pitch and how we needed to play against each of the different opponents. And so it's so quick, though, that there's really no time. So once you get to those games where it's, we play College of Idaho and then we're into the final and we're playing Kaiser, there's only 1 day in between. So we get back to the hotel, we're uploading the film, we're watching it, we're doing the scout. We have to feed the team. We have to, it's so much. But for us, I think the routine of it is so important for our players. And we were very, very structured, very routine. I mean, we really didn't go out and see the sites. We didn't really do anything really fun because it was a business trip. We had a title to win. And so, yeah, we were able to accomplish it, which is amazing.
And you win the title 4-1 over Kaiser, and it was a lot of different individuals, Sinead, that were contributing this entire season. For those that didn't have the chance to see any of the matches that you guys were being successful in, what were some of the keys to success, and who are some of the players that grew as the season went along that really helped contribute to the wins?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable performances through the season, and just Sydney Chora, obviously NAI Player of the Year. She's been absolutely incredible. She's the all-time leading scorer for us, and so she can find the back of the net. But also up there with her, we've got Abigail, who's one of our captains, and she has scored some absolutely unbelievable goals for us this year. And then you've got Inez Summer behind her in the 10, who is all-time leading assists for us. And so those three have been together for 4 years. They're a part of our senior class. They were incredible. And that's not even touching on the midfield, who were able to play our style of play, get the ball down and actually get the ball up to them. And then our brick wall of a back line, who only let in 1 goal down at final sight. And they only let it in with 15 minutes to go in the last game. We're a little mad about that, but it's fine.
We were already up 3-0 at that
point. And then Saga in goal, unbelievable freshman of the year, goalkeeper of the year. And so absolutely all of them doing their job. But every single person on the team, I think we're big about culture. We're big about your role. But the players coming off the bench, we had Mia Gomez come off the bench and score 2 goals down at final sight, and she probably only played 30 minutes total and was able to score 2 goals, which is
at the national tournament.
So it just shows you everybody's so bought in coming off the bench, and it was so great.
So Sydney Chura named NAIA Player of the Year for the 24th season. Rebecca Gunn, head coach, Sinead Byrne, associate head coach for SCAD, coming off of a national championship where they've got to figure out the tensile strength to hang a big red banner in the gym at SCAD. Rebecca, let me ask you this: if you and I had a conversation beginning of the season, like, first match is where you're trotting out there, you're getting ready for match number 1. If I was with the two of you and I said, if you were going to go 21-2 before you had kicked the ball off to begin the season, I'm not going to mention the national championship part, but if I had told you that you would be 20-1-2 with your wins, losses, and draws this season, what would you have told me before match 1 if I told you that was going to be the case?
I would have said fantastic. I mean, 20 wins is the most wins in our SCAD women's soccer history. And that's even this year we lost 2 games because of a hurricane. And so, I mean, really we could have been 22. But yeah. No, I think successful season, I would have thought. Ooh, with a record like that could be a national champion, So
for sure. We're hungry though. We've got such high expectations. I think we would have been like, well, when was the loss?
What was the loss?
Did we lose to? And did we learn anything from it?
Which we did.
We did. It was so early in our season. We learned so much from that. And so I think honestly that was so big to us going the whole way. There were some teams down there at final sight that hadn't lost and so didn't know how to handle that sort of pressure. And so we'd learned from it. We learned a lot from those draws too, and we're able to get better every single game. And I think that has been massive for us.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in that, in the ability to learn from our mistakes and be able to grow as a team. Yeah. And I felt like we didn't plateau at the end of the season. We just kept getting better and better.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to August 23rd then. So, since you mentioned that, and you mentioned that you learn a lot from a loss, after knocking off IU Kokomo in the match previous, 8 days, you have to travel. You have to travel to Grand Rapids, Michigan. You take on the number 6 team at the time in Aquinas College. You lose 2-0. So what did you learn from that? Because once again, you look at the grid and the schedule. It's got a bunch of W's and T's after the fact. There are no more L's after that moment in match number 2 that you learned. So what did you learn about yourself?
Oh, so much. We were in a different formation. So we changed the formation. We also made a tactical switch in that game, which looking back was a mistake.
Yeah.
And so I think it was good for us to see, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different, honestly, there's so many different starters in there. There's so many rotations, different goalkeeper, different centre backs. We've gone 4 in the middle. We've put Sydney and Abby in the centre, 2 nines. I mean, we learned so much from that game.
Yeah, we made a lot of changes after that, which was needed, and I think a big part of our success. And you can't count them out because Aquinas, I mean, amazing program. They had so many returning players from the year previous who, you know, I think they felt like they should have been national champions the year before. And so all of those players returned. And so they came hungry.
They did.
And I think that also sparked something in our players. It's like, no, wait, we're here. We're seniors this year.
Right.
We want to play with that kind of fire. And so it really sparked our players to know, like, no, you've got to get stuck in. You've got to want the ball to be to the ball first. You've got to read the second ball, all of those sort of things. And so that loss actually was although I would love to have it off the record, it was massive in our growth.
So if you look at the schedule, you played Kaiser twice before the last game of the year. And there was a T attached to the first one. It was a 2-2 drawback on October 26th. Then in the Sun Conference Championship, you beat them 5-2 back on November 14. And then you got to play them all over again less than a month later in the last game of the year. When you've played a team twice, you've already beaten them and you've already drawn. You haven't lost to them. Is there anything that's up your sleeve? Is there anything in the back pocket that you can bring out in a last match like this where they might not have seen it? They've analyzed all the tape. You've probably analyzed all the tape that there is to analyze when it came to Kaiser. Are there any secrets going into a last game like that?
No, I think, and I also think with it being the final, the NAIA championship, it was all about who was prepared, who was more recovered. And honestly, like at the end of the day, who wants it more? And I think us going out, and there must have been some sort of doubt in Kaiser's mind too. I mean, the Sun Conference Championship, we scored 5 goals on them in the first half. Like that's tough to recover from. So there had to be something in the back of their minds. And we just kept saying to the girls, score early, and that doubt's going to start to set in. And they score in the first 5 minutes of the game. And it's like, are we dreaming?
I know, we're like dream come true scenario. We score early. We know that's got to be in their heads. And then we go in and we tack another one on, and exactly how we needed to start that game.
For sure.
Rebecca Gunn, head coach, Sinead Byrne, associate head coach for SCAD, as they are now national champs in the NAIA. And you mentioned the schedule compression. I went back and I tried to look at it a little further. You played 4 matches in 8 days. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's Spring Arbor on the 2nd. You win 1-0. Then on the 5th, you play John Brown in the quarters. You win that one 1-0. Then it's, a day and a half. Well, let's see, 11 a.m. So maybe you get 48 hours of real time before you have to play College of Idaho in the semis. And then you don't get 48 hours again going from College of Idaho to Kaiser. 4 matches in 8 days. That's a haul.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't change our starting 11 the whole time.
No, same starting 11 the whole way through.
Yeah.
They were so good. Just so bought in. And I mean, just the preparation before we got there, they took it so seriously. Mm-hmm. They recovered so well. Like I said, Paige, athletic trainer, get her a ring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's the response been like on campus as the season grew and you guys were making the inroads that you were making? What's the vibe been like on campus heading into the title run, and now that you've come out with the big red banner?
No, it's been amazing. Even during season, we had a lot of support from SCAD Athletics. And so then once we made it to the final site, I mean, we go on Slack, and, SCAD uses Slack, that messaging system. And we go on after the game, and our AD has put it in there on the main chat. And just all the support, everybody that's watching the game, they're saying that they're sitting at their desk doing spreadsheets, but they have the game on.
Incredible.
And I mean, there's leadership training that's going on, and a huge cheer went out during this leadership training for us. And I mean, we got a call from our president, which is amazing.
Paula Wallace calling in. I mean,
no,
it's big deal.
We've had so much support, but not only from SCAD, but from the community of Savannah in general. Like, I mean, we've both heard from so many. We've heard from alumni.
Oh, incredible.
I mean, the response has been unbelievable. And
we had some alumni fly out for the game.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Well, you mentioned leadership training courses. I don't think that I mean, honestly, I think that they probably should have just had your playoff run as adjunct when it came to leadership training, because, I mean, it is literally, it's 4 matches in 8 days. It's having to adjust to the situation in front of you, adjusting to the geography and all of the other obstacles that are there. You could probably take that 4 matches in 8 days and have it as a leadership training adjunct learning session about how to navigate and come out through as successfully as you possibly could in an athletic environment and apply it to what was going on.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
We can run a course.
We should.
See, you run a course. I mean, that would be, I mean, I'd sit there and go, yeah, look, take this course, because they ended up winning a championship. When it comes to your coaching careers, obviously this is one of those pinnacle moments, but I don't think a lot of folks necessarily understand how much effort has gone in from the start of your coaching careers to get to a moment like this. Is there one big thing that you would tell either prospective players, people who want to coach for a living, who want to go down these roads, about just how tough it is and how much effort that you have to put in? Because an NAIA school is far different than, say, a Division I NCAA school. The resources can be different at times. Is there one big message that you would give anyone about what it's like to invest all this time in an NAIA program and in your coaching careers to get to a championship? What would you say to folks that might be looking in and want to go down these roads?
Oh, God, so much. I think when we arrived at Final Site, we walked into the first coaches meeting in there, and it wasn't lost on me that there wasn't a lot of women in the room. And so especially for Rebecca being, I think there was only 3 women head coaches in there with the 16, and we were the only all-female staff. And I think it's so important that women are coaching. And so just to have the success and see that an all-female staff can win a national championship and be successful, I think that's really important. So I would say to players, I mean, we say to our players are obviously going to go out and have these unbelievable careers, but like get into coaching. That would be really, really important to me. And I think I'm so proud of Rebecca and everything she's given up to get this national championship. And I could not have coached with a better human being.
You're amazing. You're amazing.
And, I mean, and Sinead, this is your first year as, you were soccer assistant coach for 5 before now becoming associate before your time at Southwestern. Does it seem like, Rebecca, 19 years have gone by since you started? What was it like day one compared to now?
Oh, unbelievable. Day one, being told to set up a field 20 yards by 20 yards. What's a yard? so yes, big growth throughout that time. No, like I had the privilege of working under Andy Williamson, who was here as the head coach when I was assistant. He was wonderful. And I think every program you're a part of, you take little things that you love that a coach does. You take things that, you think, oh, I would change that. And so then being able to take over the program with his, he ended up leaving to go run the family business, not bad. But then to have, I think I had one in Sinead, wasn't able to work, and had Darren in, and then Sinead was able to come, and it was amazing. She's been able to bring a lot of structure, I think, to the program as well. Some great ideas, and the way we are able to work off each other and just really build this championship culture is something that we really say a lot. And we say that to our players, and they've bought into it, has been phenomenal. And she is an amazing coach. She's done so much, for me personally and for the program. And so, just really blessed to have her as part of this and for us to be able to grow as a coaching staff.
Last question for you both. Are they selling the championship gear in the bookstore yet?
They're not, and we need to get that in.
Oh, yeah, we do need to get that in there.
Most definitely. I'm not going to take my shirt off. I'm going to keep wearing it forever. This is the first time I'm not wearing it.
Yeah.
Well, when it does, let me know, and I will get my SCAD championship gear and add it to my stacks, because it's really cool to see teams in our SDH footprint succeed and end up with big red banners and banners in general. But in the NAI, it is a big red banner. It's like 6 or 7 feet wide and about 4 feet tall. And it's something that really is a drawing card for a lot of eyes when they come walking onto campus. Rebecca Gunn, head coach, Sinead Byrne, associate head coach, national championship winners at SCAD. Where's that trophy? Point it out one more time over the
There
shoulder.
it is. There it is.
Right there. And that is not so. Wait, so is it like the Stanley Cup? Does everybody get like a day with it, or is it going to stay there in the office?
Oh, you know what? Our players are already home.
I know most of the internationals flew out yesterday because we're on the quarter system, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, they're already, so they're going to have to see it when they come back.
Yeah,
which is very exciting.
And then we'll figure out what we do with it.
Oh yeah.
Like during the Christmas season, does everybody get it? Kind of like Elf on a Shelf. It's like it turns into like trophy on a shelf. Is that what kind of you're going to do?
I took it home last night. I just sat in front of the TV the entire time.
Well done. Don't be strangers. It's fantastic to be able to catch up with you now that you have made your way back from the national championship and come back with the big red banner. Thanks for dropping by here on the morning show. Go get brunch or lunch, or like go home and have lives for like a day and a half before you have to go back out on the road to recruit. Thanks again for dropping by, Rebecca Gunn and Sinead Byrne. Congratulations. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks so much, John. We'll see you.
You got it. So that's SCAD. They won a title. And it was great to catch up with Rebecca and Sinead about it and find out what the run was like for SCAD. So very, very cool that we were able to wrangle them. And a big thanks to everybody in sports information and in the information department in general at SCAD to make this happen. So very, very cool stuff, and great to catch up with them. National champs! I get to say that really loudly and hurt my voice, but national champs at SCAD. So very, very cool stuff there. And, so, hey, national champs on the show. You don't get that a whole lot. You don't get that a whole lot with national champs. But national champs on the show this morning. Absolutely cool. So Abby's like, Abby was glad that they won as a former NAI parent. So glad that you beat the team you did, because she hates Kaiser. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Rich talking about our Philadelphia Union discussion. He goes, drafts are for those with bad academies. Wink. No doubt. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch, how to watch it. By the way, we're going to be catching up with our friends at Dalton State, who on the men's side got the big red banner. And then we're also going to catch up with our friends at Columbus State as well. Those will be on tape, and those will be out on the network in various forms as we go. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And that'll be what we're staring at today. Once again, tomorrow, hour number 1, normal. Hour number 2, the Power Hour with Nino and Nico, where we go over everything. And like I said, sporting is going to be the lead story, I think, with Nino calling matches in Portugal for our friends at Gold TV. You can get Gold TV at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You can get that. All the BNs, Nuestra Tele, Teise, Liga 1 Max Pro, Gold TV, For the Fans, CDO, all of it. You can get that all in one place at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Okay. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Because it's also day 2 of Champions League in this group stage. Manchester United would consider selling Marcus Rashford in the January transfer window. That scream you just heard was from Drew Dickinson, and I can't wait for his 3D. United also opened to selling Academy grad Rashford last summer, receptive to new bids, according to our friends at The Telegraph. Also tempted to cash in on Alessandro Martinez if Real Madrid steps up their interest in the defender. Arsenal considering a January move for Dusan Vlahovic from Juve, you and everybody else. Mikel Arteta has suggested they could try to strengthen in the January window if their injury issues do not improve. They've also ruled out Gabriel Jesus leaving the club in January. Virgil van Dijk willing to sign a new deal despite rejecting an initial offer. Newcastle tracking PSV Eindhoven winger Johan Bakayoko before the January window opens. Barca might only register signing Dani Olmo to play in La Liga until the end of the calendar year, but the Spain forward would become a free if they don't register him again in January. Arsenal interested in recruiting Dan Ashworth as their new sporting director following his departure from Manchester United. I like how that's phrased from our friends at the BBC. Liverpool's negotiations over a new deal with Mo Salah progressing, two parties getting closer over the structure of payments. Marseille considering a move for Paul Pogba, but have yet to hold talks with the 31-year-old whose ban for a doping offense will end in March. AC Milan open to letting captain Teo Hernandez leave the club, but will demand a fee of about £41 million for the left back. Chelsea will not consider letting Tosin Adarabioyo leave on loan in January amid reported interest from West Ham. Christian Eriksen expected to leave Manchester United at the end of the year, according to Fabrizio Romano. And Villa are considering recalling Louis Barry from his loan at League One Stockport County to send the English forward to a club at a higher level. So keep an eye on all of that. Like I said, any of screams that you hear having to do with Manchester United, that's coming from Drew. What to watch, where to watch, how to watch it. Remember, today is Champions League, and we'll break down the start times there. At noon on BN, it is the FIFA Intercontinental Cup, Botafogo and Pachuca, for you diehards. Milan and Red Star, 3 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, or as I believe we're supposed to call it, Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade. Being an Espanol simulcasting, no surprise, the Intercontinental Cup. 2 to NA has Atletico Madrid, Slovan Bratislava at 12:45, Dortmund and Barca at 3, simulcast on Unimas. DAZN USA has Women's Champions League, 2 at 12:45, Galatasaray, Lyon, Wolfsburg and Roma, 2 at 3 o'clock, Chelsea and Twente, and Celtic and Real Madrid. Paramount Plus has all your Champions League action, plus your one match in the Europa League that we traditionally get. And Atletico, Slovan Bratislava, Lille, Sturm Graz at 12:45. Everybody else is at 3. Arsenal, Monaco, Benfica, Bologna, Dortmund, Barca, Feyenoord, Sparta, Prague, Juve, Man City, Milan, Red Star, Stuttgart, and Young Boys. Will go over juice boxes in a bit. Europa League, Fenerbahce and Athletic Club started 28 minutes ago. And in the championship, Hull City, Watford at 2:45. West Brom, Coventry City is at 3. You want to take a peek at Frank Lampard and how he's doing as manager at Coventry City, you can do that on Paramount Plus. VIX is simulcasting all of the 9 matches in Champions League. So that is your rundown of what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We're looking at the invites for the 44 players for the college showcase that is going on today through the 14th in San Diego. 7 grad students, 15 seniors, 11 juniors, 8 sophomores, and 3 freshmen. The freshmen. So I'm trying to see if there's anyone in the footprint. And I mean in the footprint. Olfor Bjornsson, a forward from Duke. Sophomore Dean Boltz was made. Everybody, the spot shadow from Tom Bogert was under Dean Boltz, the Wisconsin freshman forward. You've got Nick Dang, defender from Virginia, who's a junior. Joran Gerbe, a midfielder from Clemson, a senior. Colin Griffith, a junior forward from Maryland. Charlie Harper, a junior defender from North Carolina. You have Tate Johnson, a freshman defender from UNC. Hakeem Karamoko, a sophomore forward from NC State. You have, let's see, anybody else in the footprint. Luka Nicolai, a defender from James Madison, who's a sophomore. Liam O'Gara, sophomore midfielder from Wake. It is Ian Pilcher, a University of Charlotte defender who's a senior. Duke grad student Wessel Spiel in net. Michael Sullivan and Casper Svendby, a midfielder and a defender, senior and a junior from Pitt. Riley Thomas, grad student defender out of North Carolina as well. Those are the ones in the footprint that are invited to the MLS College Showcase, where they might be picked up in the Super Draft. Just saying, when they get to their senior years or declaring their eligibilities. All right, so juice boxes. I know I was supposed to get into juice boxes here. So let's get into juice boxes for the matchups that are going on today, specifically the ones that are going on involving Champions League. And Champions League, it is the 9 matchups, and then they kick back in about 6 weeks in the league phase. Atletico Madrid, big favorite at home, a minus 1667, hosting Slovan Bratislava, who's a plus 2,900, just so you know. Lille, big favorite at home at a minus 233 against Sturm Graz. AC Milan, a minus 370, hosting Red Star. Arsenal, a minus 345, hosting Monaco. Benfica, minus 213, hosting Bologna. Dortmund, a plus 219, hosting Barcelona, who's a plus 108. Feyenoord, a minus 278, hosting Sparta Prague, who's north of plus 700. Juve is a home dog to Manchester City at a minus 105. Juve is almost a plus 300. Stuttgart, a big favorite at home at a minus 333, hosting Young Boys, who are a plus 761. So once again, tonight, 10:30, it is the expansion draft in Major League Soccer for our friends at San Diego FC. And we mentioned all of the chaos that's going on involving the activity in the Premier League. Gary O'Neill is set to remain Wolves head coach for now. He's got fixtures against Ipswich and Leicester that could be a chance to improve on the season so far. The head coach at Millwall, by the way, is stepping down after calling fans thickos. Kit Shepard from the Times. Club legend Neil Harris leaving in a mutual decision, having criticized some supporters following a defeat by Coventry, but he'll stay in charge for 2 more matches. So he called them thickos last weekend. Returned to the championship club for a second spell in February after a criticism from supporters after a 1-0 home defeat by Coventry City. 3 days later, the club have announced they've reached a mutual decision for him to leave. However, any ire is going to be attached to the matches against Sheffield United and Saturday's fixture away to Middlesbrough. 11th in the championship. They're 0 for their last 4, but they won the 4 before that. Emphasized the club's absentees and had a choice word for detractors. You miss Roman Esse, you miss Yafet Tanganga, you miss Jake Cooper. 3 players probably getting anybody's championship team. So just a reminder to people, the thickos, that when you take the 3 best players out of the team, that this is Millwall Football Club. So I guess don't call your fans thickos. Don't call them thickos. West Ham may extend Mikel Antonio's contract after the car crash. And if you've seen the pictures of the car crash, it is nasty. Just glad that everybody is okay. Obviously, Mikel Antonio had surgery on a lower limb fracture, expected to miss the rest of the season, but they may extend his contract. So we'll see what happens. City may learn their fate in January, but the appeal could obviously drag on into next season. Keep an eye on that. We mentioned David Coote being sacked from the PGMOL after making his comments in the video that was released about Jurgen Klopp. So Martin Samuel had a big column. So Dan Ashworth, we didn't really get into this. Breakdown of the relationship with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Paul Hurst, Matt Lawton, Charlotte Dunker, Martin Hardy. 4 authors in the Times piece. Breakdown in his working relationship with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and other members on the board. Understood tension had begun to grow between Ashworth and other members of the hierarchy, including Ratcliffe, who had previously championed the appointment. Ratcliffe described Ashworth as clearly one of the top sporting directors in the world. He did that earlier this year. Ratcliffe was thought to be unhappy with some of the responses Ashworth and Omar Barada, the chief exec, gave in a Q&A with newspaper reporters on September 1st. And some of the decisions that Ashworth took. Multiple sources said Ratcliffe's public praise of Barada during an interview with the fanzine United We Stand demonstrated he still has faith in his chief executive, who joined in July. Ratcliffe described Barada as a great chief executive, but his absence of praise for Ashworth during the interview, published on Saturday, signaled all was not well. So last Saturday, signaled all was not well. Ashworth summoned to the boardroom. Sir, to the boardroom. After the defeat by Nottingham Forest, decided he should leave. Press release 10:30 a.m. Sunday morning. All the more surprising considering that they fought to bring him over from Newcastle. Jason Wilcox is going to take on Ashworth's duties in the short term as they look for potential replacements, as well as Ashworth and Wilcox. Ineos appointed Christopher Vivell, the former Chelsea and RB Leipzig technical director, as director of recruitment last July. Very little to spend in the January window because they shelled out £200 million on 5 players. Only 3 of the signings came in after Ashworth's appointment. Ugarte, De Ligt, and Mazraoui. Likely he would have been made aware of the club's pursuit of Joshua Zirkzee and Lenny Yoro. 5 players helped turn things around for Erik ten Hag. Understood that Ratcliffe had serious reservations about ten Hag staying on as manager, persuaded to stick with the 54-year-old after he led the team to victory in the FA Cup final in May. Before kickoff on Saturday, United We Stand published the interview with Ratcliffe, who criticized the recruitment of the pre-Ineos reign and said that United's data analysis capability was in the last century, closed quote period. Ratcliffe said that inertia had caused United to become a mediocre, in quotes, club. Defended their decision to sack 250 staff and hike ticket costs. Ratcliffe has come under fire from United fans for scrapping concessions of what the club says are the 3% of tickets that remain unsold for Premier League matches and introducing a minimum price of £66. Quote, Ratcliffe, I know we get criticism in the press, but we do need to challenge the cost of running this club because of what I want to be free for us to do is buy really good footballers, not spend so much of the money on infrastructure. We can't run a business at a loss, which is where United have been in the last couple of years. If you're losing money, you have to borrow from the bank to pay for the losses. Eventually, that becomes unsustainable. The other big one is we need to run the club efficiently and well. We need to sweat every pound so that we have more capacity for the investment in players. Ashworth wanted to go with a domestic coach and was looking at Southgate and Graham Potter, and apparently was somewhat blindsided by the notion of bringing in Ruben Amorim. Chelsea apparently took only 8 or 9 senior players for the trip to Kazakhstan. So keep an eye on that when that happens. Pep Guardiola quoted as saying, I'm going to stop. City is my last job in club management. So keep an eye on that going forward. Remember, today is the day where Saudi Arabia is going to announce that they are the man. And as of 17 minutes ago, it is officially official. They are the 2034 hosts of that particular World Cup. Officially official. Saudi Arabia confirmed as hosts of the 2034 World Cup. Morocco and Portugal and Spain are hosting the 2030. FIFA's Congress began 2 hours ago. Norwegian and Swiss FAs had raised initial concerns about the bidding process being perceived as not fully aligning with the principles and objectives of FIFA's governance reforms of 2016. Norway add they will not join a vote of acclamation, and FIFA will go back to the Norwegian FA to discuss their concerns after the Congress. Swiss FA have also submitted a letter raising similar concerns. Both will be included in the minutes. Gianni Infantino was seated alongside the General Secretary, Matthias Grafström, who confirmed 201 nations are in virtual attendance. All 211 eligible nations have voted on the World Cup bids. So 2 hours ago, Gianni Infantino gave his address, brief in the finance chat. And so an hour ago, Asunción, Paraguay, laid out their plans for the 2030. You had the glossy video presentation. So it is now officially official, both 2030 and 2034. The vote is both World Cups simultaneously. No saying yes to 2030 and no to Saudi Arabia in 2034. So officially official, both bids going on at the same time. And yes, it is basically an affirmation by applause. Pre-stuffed envelopes brought on stage. Infantino confirmed about 20 minutes ago. Morocco, Portugal, Spain hosting 2030. Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay hosting centenary matches to open the tournament. And then a minute later, Saudi Arabia confirmed as the only bidders in 2034 hosting 2034. Now it is officially official that it's 2030 and 2034. Bids by affirmation. We have our bids. We have our final finalists in 2030 and 2034. Once again, no real surprise that it was both of those bids that were named. But once again, 2030, 2034, we know what's going on involving the hemispheric extravaganza, the world planet extravaganzas involving the best that the planet has to offer. Trying to see if there's anything else attached to it. But no, those are the largest elements of the news and features. But yeah, Pep Guardiola has ruled out managing another club. Jamie Jackson in Turin signed a new contract in 2026. At some point, I'll feel like it's enough, and at that moment, I will stop for sure. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to join another team. I'm not going to leave to go to another country for a club. I won't have the energy. Now I'm still here, but to think about starting again the whole process of training, no. Waning of his energy levels, stating in an international coaching position would be of interest to him in a next role. So those are probably the two biggest things. Pep says he's not going to go coach another joint after this gig is done with Manchester City. Maybe a national team, but not another club team. Yeah, Abby, 2027, we're still waiting. Yeah, 2027, still waiting. Yeah. Ain't heard nothing about 27 and 31. Just double checking my updates and my news. 27 and 31, just double checking to make sure. Seeing if I've missed anything. So May 17 of 24, FIFA announced Brazil won the hosting rights in 27. June 24 of 27 to July 25th of 27. So that was when the U.S. backed out. Remember, U.S. backed out, and it's like, no, we're not going to do 27. So current partners, Adidas, Aramco, Coke, Hyundai, Kia, Lenovo, Qatar Airways, and Visa. Women's World Cup partners, Frito-Lay, Mengniu Dairy, Unilever, and Verizon. So the voting took place back in May of 24. Brazil bid won 119 valid ballots. Belgium, Germany, Netherlands received 78. Curacao, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Libya, Namibia, Nigeria, Sudan, Togo abstained. Norway and the Philippines unable to vote due to technical difficulties. So voting was initially, so it was 119, and you needed a majority of 104. So 8 groups of 4. Number of games played overall, 64. But May 17, 2024, Brazil is where it's going in 2027. 10th edition, 32 teams for the second time, Spain defending champs. First Women's World Cup in South America, the 6th country after Sweden, the U.S., Germany, France, and Canada to host men's and women's, having hosted the former in 50 and 2014. First country to host 8 different FIFA competitions. So 2027, Brazil. No word on 2031, but that was, remember, when the U.S. jumped out a line in 27, and it's like, we're going to focus on 31 because of the crush of sponsors chasing after everything to 26. Would there be anything left over for the U.S. in 27? That's why they jumped back, and they're like, no, we'll regroup and we'll focus on 31. So that's where things are right now. Scheduled to be the 11th edition. Scheduled to be decided by the FIFA Congress in the second quarter of 2025. So spring, early summer 2025 is when 2031 is supposed to be squared away. A year after the host selection for 27, bid regulations for approval in the second quarter of 24. The interested bids, obviously, China, Morocco, Mexico, United States, England, UK, and Ireland, or Spain. So second quarter of 25, expect an answer on 2031. Since the U.S. jumped out of line in 27 and 27 went to Brazil. So that's the rundown of those two, the rundown of those tournaments. Trying to see if I've missed anything in the papers this morning specifically. So UEFA ignored the advice to appeal the Man City verdict after the ban was lifted. Nothing like getting something in your ear. So apparently, according to the Independent, UEFA rejected legal advice they had grounds to appeal after Manchester City cleared of financial rule breaches by CAS. Independent learned external lawyers proposed an appeal to the Swiss courts as UEFA's best response to City's victory at CAS in July of 2020, which got their Champions League ban lifted. Revelation, UEFA advised there were grounds to appeal may give encouragement to the Premier League who are prosecuting for the 130 alleged FFP breaches on similar evidence in a hearing that concluded last week. CAS overturned the 2-year ban. Legal opinion advising that an appeal was possible sent to UEFA in August of 2020, outlining their possible options following the CAS judgment. 28-page written document understood to have offered 5 potential options: a civil law appeal, an appeal to the Swiss courts, an appeal to CAS, opening more disciplinary proceedings against City, and taking no further action. Of the 5 options, the legal advice described as an appeal to the Swiss courts as the likely legal remedy, added that they believe there were sufficient grounds for taking this course of action. UEFA and Manchester City declined comment. When contacted by the Independent, UEFA understood to have received separate legal advice from a Swiss firm stating they had little chance of success. So that was the thought by UEFA at the time, involving any kind of an appeal all the way back in 2020. So let's see, trying to see if I've missed anything else. Champions League, Celtic, Guardiola, more Guardiola. We mentioned Coote. Let's see. So I think that's it for that particular paper. I think we're good. So on that note, once again, remember tomorrow, normal. It is hour number 1, getting you through the morning, getting you ready for everything going on. Hour number 2 is the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. And remember, later today, we're going to be taping some things involving our friends at Dalton State, who are champs, and the continued run of Columbus State's women's team in NCAA Division II, as they are now getting ready to play at the Sportsplex at Matthews. And we're going to catch up with them and find out what the latest is over the next couple of days as they get ready to chase a championship down to the Final Four. So once again, thanks to our friends at SCAD for dropping by and showing us the trophy. I can't wait to see the big red banner, by the way. See that in the rafters at SCAD. So big championship win for SCAD. They came through as the 9. They played Kaiser 3 times in about 2 months. 2 wins and a draw. Last one was a win that gave them the title in the NAI. So thanks to SCAD for orchestrating that. Thanks to Tyler for dropping by, as he always does on Wednesday. And we will catch up with you again tomorrow in a little less than 22 hours. So since it is the end of the show, play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata. Y'all keep an eye out on your socials for all of our content as we go throughout the day. Play it safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow.